Where I live, I found a new friend called Tom, and he was in Cricklewood. He came from Ireland in Cricklewood 20 years ago, and then he back to Ireland, and he's coming back these days to find a job. And he told me a little rhyme, so I tried to remember the little rhyme. The crack was good in Cricklewood when they wouldn't leave the crown. The biddies were crying and the baddies were fighting, but they wouldn't leave the crown. I've learned that. Where is Tom? He's not there anymore. But as a little story for today, I will talk about my father. My father was a math teacher. And now he's retired. And I was in his class when I was 17. My father was thin, tall, with a silent featured, deep, dark eyes. And the first year of the first day of the year, he strode into the class. He said, "Bonjour," like somebody who is embarrassed because he has to say something, but he does not really know what and how. And then he thought his speech had been long enough, and he started writing the lesson on the blackboard. And he was so nervous, he kept breaking the chalk sticks. He looked like the center of a firework of chalk sticks, while the blackboard was being covered with mathematical signs. Such vulnerability inspired 100% of respect. I was not in his class when it happened, but have been told. One day, he was writing at full speed on the blackboard. When the blackboard was all covered, he carried on using the little empty space left here and there, then on the wall, and eventually he put his foot into the bucket full of water with a sponge. Splash! One might think that this was a revenge of the bucket for being so neglected. My father did not really know how to cope, so he just ignored the fact. He had the habit of walking to and fro in the classroom when he was not writing on the blackboard, and that day the enunciation of mathematical concept was accompanied with the sound of this walk. Chop, 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 chop. But nobody laughed. One day, I'll come back to my father in a little while. One day I was reading a book written by Bruno Bettelheim. Bruno Bettelheim was a French Jewish psychiatrist who used to work with autistic children. And during the World War II, he was in a concentration camp. And in the concentration camp, that Bruno Bettelheim explains in this book, there was a category of prisoners that the other called the Muslims, not because of their actual religion, but because of the fatalistic attitude. This is not politically correct, but in a concentration camp you don't have to be politically correct. So, the Muslims were people who the tormentors are kind of broken into their heads, and they are internalized. The interdiction of existing forced upon them by the tormentors, while the others, though in hell, kept a sense of their dignity and kept on washing themselves, shaving, talking. And Bruno Bettelheim described, for instance, the body language of these Muslims. He explained how the body became more and more hung up, how the arms did not swing harmoniously along the body when walking, but the shoulders were jolting instead. And Bruno Bettelheim found striking similarities between the behavior of this Muslim, who usually died very quickly in the camps, and the behavior of the autistic children he used to work with in peacetime. And it helped him a lot to understand these children. And I found some strange similarities But don't get me wrong, I say similarities. A cat is similar to a tiger. But I found similarities between his descriptions and the way of my father. What is he doing here? The way he walked, the way he looked at people, expressed a kind of feeling that could translate as I'm not allowed to be here. It's wrong. I haven't got my license to be walking on the surface of the earth. When my father read the book, maybe you know this book, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time. Yes. You know that the hero is a teenager suffering from Asperger's syndrome, which is a kind of autism. And my father, reading this book, found out that he really shared all the tastes, all the likes and dislikes of the hero of the book, and at that moment he kind of accepted the idea that he might have been suffering from mild autism during his life. I have also a nephew who ticks the boxes, so maybe some genetic in there. Autism is a spectrum. It has a wide range of possible expressions, from the completely frustrated to people like Einstein or Newton were known as being autistic. I see the spectrum like a gradation of color between, let's say, blue and green, where blue would stand for perfect communication skills, and green, absolute autism. I say that to say that all the intermediate shades of colors do exist in between. Right in the middle there is blue-green. You know blue-green. If you've got a blue-green shirt, you wear it with something green, it looks blue. You wear it with something blue, it looks green. So where are we? So what I wanted to say today is that on this spectrum, we all live in a yellow submarine. Yellow submarine. We all live, somewhere in between, in an empty space, waiting, longing for words. Thank you.